Good morning. Good morning, Rabbi. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today would like to wish a very special Mabruk to the Aluf and Bibi families on the engagement of Moshe Aluf to Maria Bibi. Mabruk to the parents, Rabbi and Rabbanit Shimon Aluf, and Rabbi David and Rabbanit Chantel Bibi. Congratulations. Dorot Yisharim Mevorach, inshallah. Breakfast in the Class also sponsored by Yaron Dahan, dedicated in honor of the birth of a baby boy to Ivan and Ariel Maman. Siman Tov, Mazal Tov, Mabruk. Also sponsored by Emmanuel Zara, dedicated in gratitude to Rabbi Farhi and the members of his Gemara class for the beautiful learning. Hazaku Baruch, gorgeous. As well, the week of Breakfast in the Class sponsored by Michael Shem Tov, dedicated in honor of the birth of a baby boy to Ivan and Ariel Maman. Hazaku Baruch, Siman Tov Mabruk. As well, dedicated in loving memory of Ms. Lily Safra and Shmat Leah Bat Chana. Philanthropy has reached so many throughout the entire world. And Breakfast in the Class finally is sponsored by David E. Ash and a new website where you can support Chazak Darog by purchasing a t-shirt and hoodie and honoring your capacity to good today and every day at capacityforgood.com. My friends, also just like to announce that today we'll be launching our year-end campaign. Every year we do it right before the end of the new year. You probably have some money that you need to give away to good causes. That's going to be not going to be, otherwise you're going to get taxed on it. So lots of people have extra money lying around. Maybe not so much extra money, but a little bit extra money lying around that they can give to a tax deductible, to a charity. We're raising money towards the end of the year, like we always do, for the synagogue, Sefer Synagogue, and as well for Chazak, for all the amazing work that we're doing in the community. Please contribute nicely as well. I see there's one sign over there that is not over here. More than one sign over there that's not over here. So I don't know why. It's dedicated in loving memory of Nurit Roshan Zamir. I can't see you holding it. Leilu Nishmat Nurit Nushafarin Bat Hanom B'Yehuda Aleh Shalom Hazaku Baruch, sponsored by Asher Roshan Zamir. Thank you, Boaz. And as well, in loving memory of Vanessa's mother, Diana Cohen, Leilu Nishmat Diana Bat Sophie Vitral, sponsored by Vanessa and Joe God. That was a lot of sponsors, Rabotai, today. Hazaku Baruch. Okay, let's begin. Someone asked me if it was at all possible to repeat, to communicate what it was that we learned on Shabbat afternoon with the breakfast and the class, because they felt that it was very, very powerful and that it's a big problem for the community. So they asked me to say it again. I said to her that I can't say it again. It was about a 45-minute class. I can't share the whole class, in this shorter spot, but I could share the raw idea. And the raw idea is a very powerful one. Our rabbis tell us that every galut, it has its hallmark. It has its power. Each one of the galuyot represents a specific power. And Galut Yavan is no different in the fact that it stands for something. And what's interesting is that most people don't understand that although on a national level, Yavan stood for one thing, Edom stands for another, Bavel for another, and Parasu Madai for another, although each one of the four exiles that the Jewish people goes through has a different calling card, and we vanquish, so to speak, and we get taken out of those places as a nation when we do, in the story of Purim, in the aftermath of the collapse of the Babylonian Empire, in the aftermath of Chanuka, we kind of leave that space. But what does not happen, and this is important, is that the galut doesn't stop being relevant to us on a personal level. Every person has an element of galut, an element of exile that's still there within them. And I need to explain, what is this concept of galut? What does it mean? So there's something which is really, really important, okay? Very important. And that is, in understanding this element, I want to just make this super clear. Understanding what this galut is supposed to represent, through that recognition, we understand what our job is to be able to undo that thing. I mentioned yesterday that there's a contradiction in the words of Ma'os Tzur. We say, Hasof Zero HaKodshecha, V'karev Ketz HaYeshua. The end of the Yeshua is coming. V'karev, it's coming closer. Ketz HaYeshua, the end of the salvation. But later on, one pasuk later, we say, Ve'en Ketz Liyimei Hara'ah. There's no end to the evil days. So is it Karev Ketz HaYeshua? Is the Ketz, the end of the Yeshua, the salvation coming? Or is there no end to the days of evil? My friend, the answer is that they're both correct, but they operate using different translations of the word ketz. Ketz means end. And we find that in our parasha where the pasuk says, and it was miketz shenatayim yamim. It was the end of 2 years of days. Rashi tells us that ketz means sof, the end. But then he tells us that every time it says ketz, it also means sof. You just told me that ketz means sof. You don't have to tell me that ketz means sof always. What's Rashi communicating? You see, in another few psukim, we read another word that tells us that idea. It says that Paro had a dream. He had a dream about the cows. And he woke up, and then he had another dream. And what was his dream? His dream was about the wheat. And the pasuk says, Vayikatz Paro, a second time. Vayikatz Paro, he wakes up, he goes back to sleep. Vayikatz Paro, v'hineh chalom. And it was, behold, it was a dream. My friends, you see what Paro understood, and what Paro realized, when he told over his dream to all the people trying to interpret it, he realized that everyone was wrong. And how did he know that they were wrong until he saw it play out? And the answer is because Yosef says something to him that nobody else does. Yosef says to him, Paro, your dream, chalom echadu, it's one dream. Literally that means that Yosef was telling Paro that the meaning of both dreams was the same. But a much deeper understanding here tells us that Paro knew that Yosef was right because Yosef told him, two of your dreams, it was one dream. It says in the pasuk, Vayikatz v'hineh chalom. He woke up and behold, it was a dream, but it only says that once at the end of the second dream. Our rabbis explain that what it's telling us is that Yosef told Paro, you think you woke up, went back to sleep and had another dream. Well, that's what you're telling everybody here. That's not what happened. You woke up in your dream, and then you went back to sleep in your dream, and then you had a second dream in your dream. How many dreams were there really? There was one dream. And this is the interpretation of the dream. My friends, this concept is super important. What it's communicating to us is that what Yosef was telling Paro was that you thought you were awake, but you were dreaming still. You were dreaming that you were awake. That's what Yosef was telling Paro. My friends, what that means is that the word vayikatz means an end. Miketz means the end. But vayikatz, which has the same root, also means, and he woke up. That means that there's two things that work interchangeably. One word means it was the end, and one word means he woke up. What we're really learning here is that many times, the only thing that it takes for something difficult to end is that a person needs to wake up. That's the concept here. And it was miketz shenatayim yamim. Paro was dreaming for 2 years already. Every night he went to sleep, he had the same dream. But he never remembered his dream in the morning. Why? Because Yosef was not yet ready to come out of prison. The minute that Yosef was ready to come out of prison, what happened? All of a sudden, Paro remembers his dream the next morning, and he can't find someone to interpret it for him. That means that for 2 years, every day, Paro is having the same dream. Now you see, most people look at the story and they say, okay, you know how Yosef got out of prison? Paro had a dream. He didn't know how to interpret it. He called out Yosef. Yosef got out because of Paro's dream. It's exactly the opposite. You see, Paro's dream is on hold. It's on repeat. He's having the dream every day. Yosef doesn't get out because of Paro's dream. Paro dreams so that Yosef could get out. What all of us need to do in order to end the galut is wake up to what's really going on in our lives and in the world. It's not that things happen and we respond to those things with the way we respond to those things. Those things are happening to us to be able to elicit a reaction, to be able to elicit a result. You didn't lose the money because you invested it in this company. You had to lose the money. The way you lost the money was God made you invest in this company. Oh, this stupid company I lost. If you didn't invest it there, you would have invested it there. If you didn't invest it at all, you would have burst pipe in your basement. You're losing this money. My friends, that's the dream. That's the dream. Psychologists will tell you that the nature of a person's dream state is such that they think about things that are going on in their life, but they don't think about the thing itself. They think about something else. So as an example, a person has a big fallout with their friend. Everything is going to the toilet. Okay, it's terrible. The person was said they were going to do something, they didn't do something, you called them out on it, then they started yelling at you, then they started telling all your friends what a terrible person you are. Yesterday you were friends, all of a sudden today, forget about it, you're the biggest enemies. That night you go to bed, you have a dream, and you're, what's it called? You're in a forest, and somebody's chasing you through the forest. Some animal's chasing you. You don't know what animal it is. Animal's chasing you in the forest. You turn around, you can't believe the animal is your brother. It has nothing to do with the animal, it has nothing to do with the brother. You're dreaming about someone that's close to you that's become threatening. And you can't believe that this threatening thing is someone that you know. That's what your dream is telling you. But the dream, it doesn't have the luxury of using your conscious, logical, precise brain. It uses your subconscious brain. And your subconscious brain translates feelings into images. Now, I didn't know that was a thing, but recently they have this new AI feature that you could tell an AI, an artificial intelligence, you could say a bear having a bad day after he's betrayed by his best friend, lost all his money, but still happy with life. And it will generate you an image of a bear that looks exactly like that. I don't know what that bear looks like, but AI will give you that version. My friends, your brain is like that. It takes all the feelings, all the fears, all the dreams that you have, it mushes it into some form of a mashal, of a parable, spits it out in your dream. Now that's one of the elements of what dreams are, okay? Yosef says to Paro, you know why you're dreaming of skinny cows and fat cows? You know why you're dreaming of skinny cows, eating fat cows, not getting fatter? Maybe because you have an eating disorder and you really feel like it's very important to stay skinny and you really want to eat things, but you're worried, you're hoping that maybe that's what's going on, but probably not, because back then that wasn't a thing. We didn't have body image issues. You just were how you were. Not only that, you didn't cover it up with Spanx or slimming or whatever, or a corset. You just let it, you wore a towel around your waist and you were proud of your belly and you gave it a name, okay? My friends, listen carefully. Paro, he is told by Yosef, one is the years of plenty, one is the years of famine. God is telling you something here. But Paro, you're also thinking about your country. So not only is God communicating to you what's going to happen in the future with your country using this mashal, this example, he's also telling you that there's something that you could do about it. That's why Paro is Omed al Hayeor. You're standing on this. Where did these things come from? They came out of the Yeor. So Paro, you're on top of the Yeor. You can manage this situation. Understand that it's in your power to do something about this. Put someone in position. Let them gather the wheat at this, when things are plenty, and use it for when things are not. Okay? So he empowers Paro to take control of the situation. My friends, in a dream, the mashal is unimportant, but it tells you about yourself. You don't need to know about the bear, but you need to understand your dream helps you understand how you're feeling. You'll do things, you'll think things, you'll say things in your dream that you would never say when you're kind of protecting yourself. My friends, if that's the case, we understand that Yavan, the power of Yavan, is to create a dream state. You see, we, in our own lives, live this dream. So let me give you layers of this dream, because I want to indicate that there are layers to dreams. Paro has a dream. But then he dreams that he wakes up in his dream, and he dreams that he has a second dream. A person who is awake in their dream is in a deeper dream state than a person who's sleeping in his dream. Do you understand? Because the person feels that they're awake in the dream. That is an even deeper lack of understanding or connection with reality, because they think they're awake. There's a famous story about a boy who comes late to Shacharit. So the rabbi, Rav Tuvia Goldstein, he calls him over and he says, you're late to Shacharit. And the boy says, Rabbi, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so embarrassed. I feel terrible. He goes, but, I set my alarm. I woke up this morning. I got dressed. I came to shul. I was, I ran to shul. I got dressed. And then all of a sudden I woke up. I realized I wasn't dressed at all. I'm still lying in bed. He goes, but that's why I didn't wake up, because I dreamed that I was up and dressed and in shul. What's the rabbi going to answer to that? The rabbi says, okay, I'm not going to get you in trouble on one condition. In your dream, were you on time to minyan? Right? If you're awake in your dream, you're not getting up because you're awake. If you're sleeping in your dream, you're aware that you're asleep. At least there's that level of awareness. My friends, the person has two brains, an unconscious, a subconscious brain, and a conscious brain. And those things are constantly at war with one another. So Yavan tells you, okay, you're in Galut. You think that this is life. This is not life. Where are we supposed to be? Eretz Yisrael, Bet HaMikdash. When you're not where or who you're supposed to be, you're like an avatar, you're like a mashal of yourself. That's why it says about the time that we're in Galut, Shila Ma'alot, B'Shivat Zion, Hayinu Kecholmim, we were like dreamers. If we're in Chutz La'aretz, if we're in Galut, if we're under the thumb of other people, if we can't behave the way we're supposed to behave, we're living in some sort of dream state. We're not in control of our destiny. A person in a dream can't dictate the outcome of the dream. Even if you really don't want to run off the cliff, you do that, right? In the dream. You're like, no, don't go there. Don't go in that house. The guy's going to kill you. You're aware that something is, but you can't stop it. In Galut, we live in a dream. A person is in a personal Galut when they think that they cannot do anything about the situation they are in. That is a dream. You're living in a dream. When a person fights back against that, that's the opposite of the dream. Yavan tells a human being who is in Galut, not just from Israel to Chutz La'aretz. We, our souls, are supposed to be in Gan Eden, supposed to be with God, supposed to be completely connected and online, to feel no space between us and Hashem. When you identify with the body, when you're connected to the body, when you're obsessed with the body, what happens? You're giving more credence, more importance to the dream, to the avatar, to the mashal, to the parable, than to the person himself. Is this clear? Yavan idolizes the body. That's the dream state. That's the mashal. Matityahu, in taking control of the narrative, that's him waking up. Are we understanding this? So Yavan pushes a sleep state where you're a victim, where there's nothing you could do, where you're just in this place, you can't control the outcome, where the importance is money and food and aesthetics and fame and glory and kavod. That's what everything is about. And the fight back is not accepting that that is the case. My friends, this is clear. And I want to share something that I thought was very powerful from the essay of Bilvavi. He says, if you take a look at the beginning of the story of creation, we read about how Adam HaRishon is naming all the animals. Now we know that Adam HaRishon in his creation, he was created Zachar and Nekeva. He was hermaphrodite. He had both parts to himself. In fact, Gemara says he was du partzufi. He had on one side was a male element, male side, the other side was a female element. He had both within him. How would he have had children? He would have been able to have children within one body. Okay? So he could have existed potentially that way. Anyway, Adam HaRishon is naming all the animals. He sees two skunks. Okay, he names him Pepe Le Pew, Hazak Baruch. Goes to the next one, Bugs Bunny, fantastic. Daffy Duck, names all the animals, each one according to their name. Porky Pig, everyone gets their own name according to what they are. All of a sudden, but to man, for himself, Lo Matzah Ezek Kinegdo, he could not find a partner. What do you mean he couldn't find a partner? We just said he has a partner. Attached to him. The concept is, Lo Matzah Ezer Kinegdo. We always translate those words as a helpmate opposite him, either a helpmate or opposite him. I want to translate it literally here. He could not look at his partner. He didn't see someone apart from him, opposite him, that he could look at because she was his other half. She was part of him. Adam HaRishon saw that all animals had a male and a female, and that's what he wanted for himself. He felt alone. He felt lonely. So God says, E'eseh lo ezeh kinegdo. God doesn't make him an ezeh kinegdo until that moment, until he complains. My friends, what does the pasuk say? Vayapel alav tardema. So God put Adam to sleep. And he takes a rib from Adam, and he makes it into Eve. And now, wow, he brings him this helpmate, kinegdo, fantastic. Al ken ya'azov ish, et avive et imo v'davak b'ishto. Wow, he calls her Isha, because you are etzem atzamai basar mibsari, ki mi isha lukacha, you were taken from me. Beautiful. And they come together. My friends, interesting. You know what's not in the pasuk? It says, and God put Adam to sleep. And you know what it does not say? It does not say, and he woke up. Why not? Because humankind, from that moment, is still asleep. We have never woken up since then. And I want to illustrate this concept. Again, remember, being asleep is buying into the mashal more than your reality. We live in a world which is creating augmented reality and virtual reality. And I love how we're investing in all other forms of reality as if we've solved and we really own our own reality. Before we work on any other kind of reality, could we just actually get real ourselves with our problems? You know what it means when it says that Adam went to sleep? When Adam Arishon, who was created by God himself, on a level higher than the angels, okay? When he looks at the animals and says, you know something? Chaval, I'm not like them. I don't have what they have. Could you imagine a guy, homeless, sleeping on the side of the street, freezing cold. You walk past the guy, you're like, you know something? That looks like an amazing sleeping bag. I feel like I'm losing out. I don't have a sleeping bag. Yeah, Dib, you have a home. No one's jealous, or you shouldn't be jealous of a homeless guy, right? For things that you don't have. But Adam Arishon, he's lost the plot. He's looking at an animal and saying, how come I don't have what they have? He put himself to sleep. So God says, in your sleep state, I can't allow you to continue the way with my plan when you've ruined my plan. Now you feel alone. Now you feel deficient. I have to give you something. God's response was only to Adam Arishon's noticing that he was alone. Fascinating. So the idea of being asleep is when you could look at somebody else and say, I want to be like them, and not realize that there's something special and unique about you, and it shouldn't be like anyone else. That you should be able to hear people talking and not listen to what they're saying. Because I don't care what they're saying. I don't care how they think about me. I know how to do what's right for me. Fascinating. What's the next thing we read about? The greatest act of sleep. Right after this, he gets a partner. What's the first thing they do? They don't go get pizza. She goes and she eats from the Etz Hadat. Fascinating. What does he use to get her to eat from the Etz Hadat? He says, eat from the Etz Hadat. V'hayitem ke'elokim, you'll be like God. He gets them to feel, again, like they're not good enough as who they are. They have to be like this other thing. Eat the fruit, you'll be like God. So what starts as a desire to be like an animal and not oneself is a dream. What continues this theme is this desire to be like something that I'm not, i.e. God. The lesson we learn here is to not be anything other than yourself, even if the other thing is God. If you were made you, that's your reality. That's what Hashem wants from you, nothing else. He doesn't need you to be anything else. So what's the result of eating from that tree? From being asleep? The ultimate sleep comes from the ultimate, from the Etz Hadat. We bring death to the world. The Gemara tells us that sleep is a 60th of death. Is this clear? Yavan tries to hide everything that is real from a human being. So it tells you to focus on your abs and not on your relationship. It tells you to focus on throwing the javelin and not on whether or not the javelin lands on somebody. That's what Yavan does. It distracts people with temporal beauty. But ultimately, it was something beautiful. But it should have been v'yishkon, says the pasuk. Yaft Elokim liyefet. God made Yefet beautiful. Yavan, that comes from Yefet. There's so much good there, potentially. But it had to be v'yishkon be'ohale Shem. It needed to live in the tents of Shem. Shem, what is his tent? He has a nice tent. That's the point. It's a double-decker tent. That's why Yefet needs to live there. The tent of Shem is the yeshiva of Shem va'ever. He was supposed to synergize all these advancements of art, of culture, science, of maths, of the physical body. He's supposed to synergize that with Torah. And without that synergy, it becomes divorced. My friends, I want you to imagine, is it a good thing to buy your wife presents? Is it a good thing to buy the perfect present for your wife? Amazing. Now imagine if you miss her whole birthday because you were looking for the perfect present. She says, where are you? You're not here yet. He said, I'm coming. Where are you? I'm coming. What is it? He's looking for the presents still. But he misses the entire day, 24 hours he misses with his wife. Looking. The next day he comes, he goes, I found it. Happy birthday. She says, what happy birthday? Where were you on my birthday? Now, what was his intention? His intention was to buy her a present for her birthday. But there's an extreme version where you focus so much on the thing that you lose focus on what the thing was supposed to be about. That, my friends, is this concept of the dream state. And you know what ends our problems? So many of our problems. It's when we just wake up and realize it's a dream. And a lot of times we're dreaming, but we think we're awake. No, I know what I'm doing, Rabbi. I know that pushing my wife away is going to teach her a lesson, and in the long run, we'll be healthier. Really? No, Rabbi, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know that I have to put in all this work now, and then I'll retire later, and then it's going to be great. And they put in the 20, 30 years, and they wind up doing really well. And then they get home, and then there's nobody home because 30 years, the most important years of the children's life, of their formative lives of their marriage, they were not home. And by the way, they're not lying that they did it for their kids. They did do it for their kids. But they focused on the dream and not on the reality. To solve these problems, all a person needs to do is wake up. Wake up. That's it. It's so simple. Wake up. Wake up and realize that I don't need to be like anybody else. Wake up and realize that when I say this again and again, you're making a wedding and you can't afford it. Don't do it. Save the money. Make a cheaper wedding. 2 less pieces on the band. Nothing's going to happen. A half less flowers. Nothing's going to happen. If you can afford it, go for it. Enjoy. Have a great time. But if you can't afford it, what are you worried about? You're worried about what people will say, how people will think? Who cares? There's so many examples like this where people are just not waking up. They're not waking up to the reality of how the world works. They're not waking up to the reality of their relationships. They're not waking up to the reality of Borei Olam, of what he wants from us in the world. He doesn't want you to be anybody else. He wants you to be you. And that's what Yavan hides from the world. And it creates this illusion that a person can fall for. And the lights of the menorah are designed to wake a person up from that. And I explained that Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel are just differing on how you wake someone up. Bet Hillel is that setting on your alarm that gets gradually louder. 1 candle, 2 candles, 3 candles, 4 candles, 5, 8 candles. You have that on the alarm, right? It starts low, and then it gets louder. It's a nice way a parent wakes you up. A nice way the alarm clock wakes you up. Then there's another way that doesn't work for some people. Shammai is not like Bet Hillel, Rachamim. Shammai is Din. Shammai puts on all the lights. 8 lights on the first day. Let's wake this guy up. Okay? So when you look at the menorah, ask yourself this question every year. As you see the menorah, as you're celebrating Chanuka, ask yourself, where am I dreaming? Where am I asleep? Where do I realize I could do much more? Where am I trying to imitate other people? Where am I getting lost in the race? Where am I getting lost in the clothing, in the money, in the car, in the apartment? What is important? What's really important to me? And when a person does that and they wake up, in the end, they wind up, Vayikatz, brings me ketz.